All right, we are on lesson 1.2. This lesson is all about adding integers. We're going to talk about working with the number line today, and we're also going to talk about adding integers in just using a rule that we're going to talk about. So our first thing that we're going to start off is talking about integers on a number line. So on a number line, negatives move us to the left and positive numbers will move us to the right. So because we're just adding, we'll start at the first number, which you can see here. We start at -2. A positive 3 would move us 3 units to the right, which would bring us to 1 for our answer. 4 is where we start here. We move 8 units to the left because plus a -8 moves us to the left side, which brings us down here to an answer of -4. We're going to try a couple in your notes right now. Use the number line to find the sum. So we're going to start at number 4, and we're going to move 5 units, and is the plus sign, 5 units to the left. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to draw little loops here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And yes, I do want you to actually draw those loops to show that you're actually moving those different units here. That's how you can actually show me that process. Next one, we're going to start at -7, and plus sign also means and we're going to go 2 units. This is a positive 2, so 2 to the right, and that's going to take us up here to a -5. Our next example that we have is a -3 plus a -4. So we're going to start down here at -3, and we're going to move 4 spots left. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to take us to -7. The last one here starts at -8, and it's a +10, which tells us, and we're going to move 10 to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which brings us to a final answer of 2. On our next page, we have a couple ones where there is a number line given to you, and you're going to identify what the addition problem actually is. So we're going to look at the starting number, because that'll give us our first piece. So the starting number is 7, and what did we do here? We moved to the left, and we actually moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots to the left. So a left movement is a negative, and because it was 6 spots, it's a -6. So we're going to put that -6 in parentheses here because we don't ever want to have a plus sign right up next to a negative sign or a minus sign. So we're going to put plus a -6 and put that in parentheses. Our final answer where we ended was a +1. And the last one here, we're going to go ahead and start at -4. And you'll notice this time we're moving to the right. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 spots to the right. Moving to the right is positive, so we're going to call that a +4. And I don't actually have to write the symbol with the positive number because it's just 4. And then our equals number, our final answer is a 0 here. Okay? And final example, I'm going to go ahead have you give this one a try. First question I'm going to ask you is, what is your starting number? Your starting number is 8, so that would be your first blank. What is going to go in your second blank? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to the left. So 10 left would be a -10. So you want to go ahead, remember, write that in parentheses here so that we don't have 2 symbols jumped up next to each other. And then final answer here is a -2 because that's where we end. That's our first part of our lesson, and that's all about adding integers on a number line. So now if we kind of go back and we look at the start here, and in this one, we had a positive number added to a negative number, and notice that our answer ended up being negative. Why did that happen? It happened because we moved further left than we were to the right. In other words, we had more negative than we had positive. Same thing in the second example here. The 7 had more negatives than the +2. Okay, so we're going to use this to kind of apply a little bit of a rule for us. When signs are the same, in other words, if we have 2 positives or 2 negatives or 3 positives or more, or 3 negatives, we're going to add all those numbers together and we're just going to keep that positive or negative sign. Kind of makes sense. That's what you've been doing all along from elementary school. 4 plus 3 is 7, and you didn't even think twice about it because 4 and 3 are both positive, so your answer is definitely positive. Here's where things get a little trickier. When signs are different, you want to subtract the smaller number from the bigger and keep the sign of the bigger. I'm going to show you this kind of in a minute here once we get into our examples, because it's just a little bit easier to see with an actual example. Number one, we have a -7 and a -3. So they're both negatives. They're going to combine up together, and 7 and 3 is going to give us 10. So we have a -10. In number two, I'm going to actually show you this with a quick little picture here. So we have 8 positives. 5, 6, 7, 8 positives. And we're going to add to that 4 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. In this case, it's hopefully visibly clear to you that there are way more positives than there are negatives. Now, here's what happens. For every positive and negative that we have, they actually cancel each other out. Cancel each other out. Cancel each other out. Cancel each other out. And we are left with a +4, because remember those greens represented our positive there. So 8 plus a -4 is a +4. Go back up to your rule. Remember it said subtract the smaller from the bigger, so you're doing a subtraction problem here. 8 minus 4 is 4, and keep the sign of the bigger. Well, is 8 bigger or 4 bigger? The 8 is bigger and it was positive, so it's going to stay a +4. Take a look at example number 3. It uses the same rule, 8 plus a -2, okay? So you can think, all right, that's going to cancel out 2 of those 8s, and there are going to be 6 of them still sitting there, even though that we took care of those guys. So this is going to be a +6. One other way to think about it is you have $8, because that's a +8 chilling out right there. And you're going to owe me $2. Once you give me my $2, you've paid me back. What's left in your pocket? You still have 6, okay? That same concept of owing and having money is going to work whether you're both positive or negative as well. If you look at number 4, we have 2 negative numbers, which means we should add the numbers and keep that negative sign. You can do the same thing, the same concept. You owe me 9 and you owe me 10. So altogether, you would owe me $19. In number 5, you owe me 4 and you owe me 5. You owe me 9 now in all together. In number 6, you owe me 4 and your granny, she just gave you $16. That was kind of nice, right? So you have that +16, but you owe me 4. So guess what? You're going to pay me back, but you're still going to have $12 left at the end of this. The next 2 examples are little boxes. We're going to actually just add the integers. So you've probably seen like a multiplication table before. This is actually an addition table. So we're going to go ahead and add these guys. So we're going to say, all right, -12 and a -3. Add those together, and we're going to put that answer right here inside this box. So if I have 2 negatives, a -12 and a -3, they're going to add together and keep the negative sign. 6 plus a -3. You have 6, you owe me 3. You're going to pay me back the $3. You're still going to have money. -12 and a 7. So in this case, you owe me 12, but you only have $7 in your pocket. So you're going to go ahead and pay me back those $7, but you still owe me money. You still owe me $5 because 12 minus 7 is 5. 6 plus 7, that's just easy. That's elementary school. That's going to give you a 13. In this next box here, I'm going to do one of them, and then you're going to fill in the other 3. So the first one I'm going to do is the 5 and the -9. You owe me 9. You only have 5. You give me all your money, but you still owe me 4. Take a minute. What is your answer going to be in this box right here? -2 plus a -9. If you said -11, you're in good shape. Next box right down here, you have 5 plus a -24. You still owe me 19, so you're at a -19 here. Final box for this one, -2 plus a -24. Yep, add those numbers, keep that sign. You're going to have a -26. You owe me 2 and you owe me 24. Wow, you're just really racking those up there. All right, we have 2 examples here then to basically get us going here with word problems. So we're going to look for some keywords here. A big concept in math is looking for some keywords that tells us are our numbers going to be positive numbers or negative numbers. So it says, in an online practice test, Sam scores 18 points for correct answers, So this is what he gets. So it's a positive 18. And, and he loses 3 points. Well, to lose 3 is going to be a negative 3 for his incorrect answers. How many points did Sam score overall? So he has 18, loses 3 of them. He is down to 15 points. And we are going to put a label. That's one thing you'll know about Mrs. Grabner very shortly, that we are going to add labels to any type of word problem. So yes, we want to include that word points. Next example, Sarah burnt 300 calories. Well, we're burning calories. We're getting rid of them. That's a negative 300. That's awesome. Working out on the treadmill. Later, she decided to indulge in a pizza that had a calorie count of 400. Well, if she actually ate that pizza, she just put 400 calories into her body. So did she gain or lose calories? Well, she lost 300 but gained 400. So 400 is bigger. The difference here is 100. And it's still going to be a positive. We don't have to write the plus. So she actually gained 100 calories by eating that pizza, even though she worked out. Oof. On your next page here, we're on page 8, number 11. We're going to talk about Blake here. He goes into an elevator on the second floor. Well, that's a positive too. And he goes up 9 floors, so that's going to be a plus 9, and that takes him to the bookstore. And then an hour later, he moves down 3. So, and he's going to go down 3. Down's a negative. Which floor is he on now? So we're going to go ahead. We're going to work from left to right. 2 plus 9 is 11, plus a negative 3. When we add those together, we actually end up with a positive 8. So he is on the 8th floor. And that makes sense because we don't know if there's any floors under the ground. So it would make sense for him to stay positive. Final question here. This one's an easy one, and this is going to actually be a quick multiple choice question for you. Which point represents the number that you would add to negative 4 so that the result is 0? Hint, think opposites. So I'm saying take negative 4, add some question number that we don't know, and what do we get to get 0? Think about your opposites, because remember, opposites, they're positive and negative versions, and they add up to give you 0. So which point would you pick that would go in there to make that true? All right, well, I'm hoping you said point D, because that would be a positive 4, which are opposites, and they add to give you 0. So that ends your lesson on adding integers for today. Hopefully that was an easy lesson for you. I'm going to have you go ahead as your final piece for today to rate yourself on this lesson.